Hey guys, today we're gonna do some nerdy stuff. We're gonna talk about how to hook up a surround sound receiver. I know all my enthusiasts will probably just tune right out, and that's fine. I'm hoping this, gets to some beginners, things like that. This is an 11 channel, so I'm gonna go all the way to 11 channel talk and really just how to properly hook it up and things like that. Because a lot of people, they buy these on the internet and that kind of thing, and whereas I kind of hate that, because as a small business owner, I want people to come in and get help, and sometimes people don't have a professional and they really need to understand. So I'm just going to go section by section, what it all means. First of all, anything input and output. Okay, so this is the biggest call we get is I'm not getting video, and after I'm done troubleshooting, they're like, we find out that they don't know what inputs and outputs mean. So all the inputs are from your sources. So your DVD player, your Apple TV, that kind of thing, they get plugged into here. So out of the source into the receiver. So you're going into these sources here. And then on this one, you've got actually got a couple HDMI outputs. You've got one with eARC, which is obviously if you're like using a TV that's got ARC and you're using the apps in the TV for video or for video and audio, you can backfeed the audio to the receiver, and that's your source. Your TV is your source, so it's going out of the TV, technically into the ear, which that's where it gets confusing, but I don't know what to tell you, I didn't make it. But the eARC means could be an input also, let's just say that. So these are your outputs here. You can go to a zone 2, so if you've got a secondary display somewhere in a game room near there or something like that, you can take these sources and send it over here. So that's kind of your HDMIs. That's easy enough. Ethernet is obvious if you're going to do any kind of control, streaming, things like that. It also has Wi-Fi connectivity, but I'm not big on Wi-Fi. My rule will always be, if it has a hole, you put a wire in the hole. So it's just that simple. This is all your digital connectivity here, okay? So digital connectivity are any sources that are mainly just audio or an old school source, DVD player, that kind of thing. They put it on there, you're not gonna use it a lot. Maybe some streaming devices where you're gonna, you wanna use the DAC in this instead of the DAC in your audio source, you can do that. IR inputs, things like that. Different control systems are going to have a hard IR in to control it infrared, but through this jack. Triggers are to turn on separate amplifiers. We'll get to that section in a little bit. That's my favorite section. RS-232 is the best way to control anything if you can control it that way. RS-232 by a long shot, can't fall off a network, can't get messy. Phenomenal way to control something. Crestron, Control 4, Savant, anything like that that can be RS-232 controlled, you should absolutely use it. Analog jacks, I'm a big fan of, right? If you're going to get a Blue Sound player, a name player, some streaming deal, a nice CD player, as long as the D-Day converter in that unit is better. If you buy a unit that's got a phenomenal DAC in it, meaning that the digital to analog is converted in the source first, then you're sending analog here. You're not needing any conversion. You're going straight from analog to speaker pretty much. So it's a really nice way to use that if your piece has a good onboard DAC. Over here is where I live a lot, man. I'm going to be honest. I sell a lot of receivers, and then I utilize the rear section as the amplifiers, and I sub out, or I pre-out these. So if you have a receiver that has a pre-out section, and really typically that's going to be like your Marantz 6015 or whatever, replace that with. I don't feel like looking that up right now. Cinema something or another, 40 or something. And then, like a Denon 3800. Those receivers on up have pre-outs. And what you get with the pre-out section is my favorite thing. You could get a Parasound Halo A31, a nice amplifier on the internet if you're an internet guy. Something like an Anthem actually makes an MCA 325, I think it's called, 225 by 3. Nice amplifier to forego these front and center sections. Really give yourself really high-end audio out of your. There's plenty of processing in these receivers to sound damn good, but the amplifier is not that great. So it really gives you a way to get audiophile grade listening, I think, out of a system that's not 100 grand, 200 grand, these crazy systems, right? That is like the poor man's audiophile way, and I'm that way too. I absolutely love that trick that I use. I use it all the time. Denon 3800, there's literally a Denon 3800 sitting right underneath this. This whole room is run by Rotel amps. Denon 3800 is the preamp. It is an absolutely killer way to get very high-end audio without spending crazy money. And you have a full pre-out section. You want to buy extra amplifiers? You can go full 15 channel with wides, heights, the whole 9 yards. Each of these holes is a speaker. So if you want to just go to your front 3, you're going to go you're going to use these 3 right here, go to a 3-channel amplifier. That's going to take over, you know, tell the receiver you did it in the menu. That's going to take over the front 3 channels not used. You're going to use a much more powerful amplifier here, and then your amplifier is for the rest of the 11 channels. So it's a really, really great way to really step up your game, is using a receiver as a preamp and then amplifying up to all of the channels if you want. I do want to run through the speaker jacks. It seems self-explanatory, but it's not. And the reason I say that is a lot of people don't realize that some things change when you go from 5.1 on up, okay? If you have a 5, and this is the most important part of the video if you're a beginner. If you have a 5.1 system, you're going to utilize the front, center, okay? Those are your 3. And then you're going to be utilizing the surrounds as your rears. The surrounds are the ones you use for 5.1. Even though these over here say back, your brain's going to want to use that. Now look, this one probably has what are called assignable, you know, speaker jacks and things like that. Most normal receivers do not have that. If it is in 5.1, it will send the rear sound to the surrounds, okay? So your surrounds are what you use in the 5.1. The second you go to 7.1, now the surrounds are your side channels. So your side speakers go into the surround jacks. Your back channels go into the surround backs. By using the surround backs, you're telling the receiver that you've got 7 speakers, okay? So that's the only time you ever want to use those, is when you have more than 5. And then from there you fill in the obvious, right? Height 1, height 2, that kind of thing. You go in the receiver, you tell it where they are, whether they're front heights, mid heights, rear heights, that kind of thing. Now calibration. What I want you to do in calibration, I'm not going to show it to you or anything like that. I might do a separate video someday of it, but just do this as a baseline and see how it goes. I want you to calibrate your fronts flat, center channel up 3, rears up 4 or 5, okay? Run with it like that, see how it is. If your ceilings are too high, turn them down a little bit. If your rears are too high, turn them down a little bit. Do all of your distances and things like that with the laser if you can. It's really, really helpful. It's a really inexpensive tool to buy on Amazon. You know, get your distances set your theater like that first, and just roll with it and see how it sounds. It's a really, really good baseline to hear more surround effects, hear more voices. Those are the big complaints you get in theater. Fixes 90% of people's problems really right out of the gate. If you want to get tweaky after that and watch other YouTube videos of things way more nerdy than me, knock yourself out. There's a lot of nerds out there doing some good things on the platform, so check those out. But I hope this helped you in any way. Feel free to ask me some questions, but that's how to understand this mess that I've been living with for 25 years. Looks very, very easy to me, but I know it's not the case to everybody. So hope you'd enjoyed, and let me know if you have any questions, and leave the mean comments off. See ya.